gotta stand your fucking ground and be an adult and make some tough decisions.
If every single person refused it, we'd have no problem.
Just say no. We don't need civil war.
If every
no.
single business on the block, I think back to Staten Island, and I got a lot of friends in Staten Island. I think back to Mac's Public House, which made headlines because they stayed open during COVID, during the New York lockdown.
Ian went to that.
And then they tried to, the cops came and tried to shut them down. Every business in Staten Island said, we're joining Mac's Public House and we're open.
Dude, we all have the best time ever to start a small business.
If I'm not going to be 100% in, I'm not going to do it.
Come on, man, just be yourself.
Yeah,
and just show up as yourself.
If you don't realize what I'm really about, I'm about freedom, family, and my country.
Mike Crispi, welcome, dude.
What's going on, brother? This is amazing. I'm having so much fun. The fire is warm, it's cold, and we're heating up. This is great.
The fucking temperature warmed up quick today, and that disappoints me because I'm a mountain man. I like the cold around the fire pit. And then recently, over the last hour, as we were talking inside the garage, the temperature dropped.
Yeah, you were happy about it. And I said to myself, I woke up today, I said I'm doing a podcast. It's like 50 degrees in the wintertime. I thought I was going to be lucky, but that's okay. I'm going to be tough just for you. I'm going to be tough just for you, and we're going to have the greatest podcast of all time.
It's going to be great. It's going to be absolutely great. So, Fireside, for your listeners and the people who view your stuff, and you have a lot of action online right now, I think you're more tactful and smart than people probably give you credit for, so kudos to you. This is based on business owners turning around, helping the next guy or girl in line get to financial freedom. This started when COVID happened, and my wife was a teacher. They were forcing these teachers, my wife was pregnant, to get vaccinated. And, I'm not fully anti-vax of every vaccine, but I was definitely anti that vaccine, for sure.
100%.
My kids aren't vaccinated. Obviously, I am. My wife is. Back then, our parents didn't know any better. And to see teachers, cops, firemen, as well as a ton of corporate employees get their souls ripped out, it bothered me. So I said, business ownership is hard, but you can teach a lot of people to go make $150,000 a year. It's not that hard. And I hope that doesn't make anybody offended. It's not.
Yeah.
And so I started interviewing my friends and my clients in the finance business. And I wanted to have different walks of life come on the show, different personalities, and help. And then it over time morphs, because it all is based on country, family, and financial freedom, right? So politics comes into play there, because business ownership, especially here in Jersey, which some of the highest property tax and costs and then, we need to start getting involved in politics. So that's why you are here. That's why Bill was here. That's why we're going to get Jack here, and maybe the guy on the left, if he's willing to come show up in my backyard as well.
Andy Kim, he couldn't handle this cold.
No, he couldn't. Maybe. I don't know. Asians like cold?
I heard it's really seasonable this time in North Korea.
Is he Korean?
Yeah. Well, he's South Korean probably.
South Korean?
The tie. Look at that tie that he wore during the debate. I don't know. I mean, I know that was a big controversy in New Jersey, but the jury is still out. He did not explain himself about it.
I didn't see it.
So look up Andy Kim tie.
What's going on in South Korea right now? A bunch of
Well, they did martial law. They like that. They did martial law, and then they shut it down 2 seconds later. We got a wild world right now. And, I've long said that I think that North Korea, Kim Jong-un, I think he's like a puppet of like the globalists, like kind of like this cartoon, like crazy threat when he just kind of does what he's told. He kind of lives off of China, North Korea, Kim Jong-un does. Like they're nothing without China. So I think that the North Korea story, there's a lot to unpack there.
You ever see a meme where it's like, I'm going to nuke you, and you ever see like those little blow things that the kids have? You like step your foot on it and it sends like a little Nerf rocket off of it?
Yes, that's Little Rocket Man, as they
Little
call
Rocket
him.
Man, dude, it's fucking hilarious. But let's not weave. We're not going to weave too much. We want to get people to know who the hell you are, right? So you run a podcast called Mike Crispi. Mike Crispi Unhinged? Unafraid.
Not unhinged. I'm not. I'm always calm, cool, collected.
Yeah. Again, tactful.
Yeah. Unafraid. Tactful and unafraid. Yeah.
As well as a PAC, large PAC here in New Jersey.
America First Republicans of New Jersey. We went all year long from January up until Election Day to get President Trump elected in the state. Obviously, there were swing states all around the country, and the campaign was focused on that. So we said in January, somebody's got to step up and turn New Jersey red and help the efforts. Obviously, the Trump campaign working super hard to flip all those swing states they did. New Jersey, nobody was doing it. We saw the opportunity. Obviously, we have great, friends within the Trump campaign and within the movement. So we started America First Republicans in New Jersey, and we did 35 events all year long. We got President Trump on the ballot with over 10,000 petition signatures. All candidates need to qualify for the ballot, no matter what you're running for. So we got Trump a record, the most a presidential candidate has ever had in New Jersey. We got that for him. We signed up over 2,000 people, volunteers, who were going to commit to getting 14 low propensity voters to turn out. We did 1.5 million voter contacts through digital, text message, and door knocking. And I personally, as the chairman of it, did over 50 media appearances on TV, on radio, and stuff like that. And people would say to me, "Oh, Mike, can New Jersey actually turn red? Can you actually turn red?" And I would always say yes. And a contingency of people on X, Twitter, whatever you want to call it, they would laugh at me. And I said it even at the rally in Wildwood. I said, President Trump is about to take the lead in New Jersey. He was running against Biden at the time.
On the election night, which was my birthday.
Oh, wow.
Which was my
That's
birthday.
a good birthday gift.
Great birthday gift.
So everyone was doubting that New Jersey could be in play. And I said it day after day. If you go on my X leading up to it all year long, I'm like, we're turning New Jersey red. And then on election night, they say that he only lost by 5 points. I believe it was very close. There was some malfeasance going on, some stuff like that. But I think that we have a little bit of a cleaner process next time. I think Republicans are going to win New Jersey. I think we're going to flip it. I think Trump changed the base of voters in this state where, the South Jersey working class folks, Central Jersey purple voters, and even in the urban areas. Like we did events in Newark. We did events in like the Patterson area. And I felt something happening because we would do an event and we would have over 100 people coming out for Trump there, like committing to like harvesting 14 people to go vote. So we did it all year long and everyone was surprised on election day, but we were not because we did the work and it was awesome.
Yeah, good job. I appreciate you and your team. So kudos to them as well. So back to Mike. That was a great speech. That was good. I liked it. I want to know who Mike is. So everybody who watches this show likes to get to know the person, right? Because they're like, hey, who is this guy? What is he really about? And we have a bunch of different questions for you later on as we get into the podcast. We'll probably go about an hour and 20 minutes.
We can go 3. I have the stamina.
Oh, we can go 3. Are you sure? We got to get you another
we can go
tequila.
4.
That'd be record. That'd be record. So, where'd you grow up?
Well, so I grew up in New York. Grew up on Long Island. My parents, middle class government workers. My dad was working as an air marshal at the time. My mom was a stay-at-home mom.
That'd be a cool job.
It was a cool job. I mean, he really, it's funny is that I'm in politics, I'm dealing with all these grown men, and I always would say, my dad would never act like that. These people are children. Because like my dad was like an old school type, like just like quiet,
respect,
went
humble,
about his business, follow the chain of command. And I always would say this to my parents that I'm doing all this politics, like I'm going toe to toe with a lot of these older people that are my parents' age, and I'm just like, it actually has me have so much more respect for my parents because of just how like normal that they are compared to like these whack jobs, and also not only normal, but how good intentioned they are.
Where in Long
Island? Dix Hills, which is on the North Shore of Suffolk County.
Yeah. My wife's from Wantagh.
Oh, very nice. So good intentioned, good people, Italian, family values, Catholic, and I was just raised the right way. In a good household. I think these things matter. It's not about how much money your parents have or any of that. It's just about like how you're loved as a kid, how you grow up, how they support what you want to do. When I was young, I really wanted to play college football. And I would want to go to all these like combines and camps and all that. And again, we weren't really super rich, but I was telling my parents I want to get a football scholarship, I want to go play college football. And they, spent money that, again, it was probably stretching it thin, but they like allowed me to pursue my dream early on because I want to be a college football long snapper. We were talking about that before the show. And they drove me. My dad
You said
would
you
drive
could block me.
Well, I said that I would be able to just get you at the knees, like just the right way. And I don't know about I don't know if I can outbench you, but like I could tactfully, go right at the kneecaps.
I'm pretty tactful too.
But well, it's just it's a tactician podcast right now, you can call it. But so they allowed me to pursue what I wanted to do. They were always very supportive of me, and they always kind of built up my confidence. And I think when you're having children and when you're raising a family, like what I've learned from my parents is it's about raising them to be confident, but not over the top. Like still understand like reality in the world we live in.
Do you think you're over the top? People would say you're over the top.
Well, they see it, but there's a method to the madness,
Of course.
Like deep down, I don't think that I'm a overly cocky person. People talk about the ego, but I think when they talk about the ego, I think it's because they don't realize what I'm doing. I mean, and there's a strategy to what you're doing.
Ego is good when used right.
Yeah, and like I always say, in order to get anywhere, you need to be strong. You need to stand on your own 2 feet. And people will say you have an ego when you're doing something that they, in their heart and mind, are too afraid to do.
Correct.
Stand up to something.
They look in the mirror and go, I can't do what Mike Crispi's
but he has
doing.
an ego, so they'll try to cut me down
yeah.
because I'm ferocious and I'm standing for something.
Yeah, I experienced that in my life.
And then I say it, the only thing worse than being wrong or people, coming at you or trying to cancel you or attacking you, like I have been, the only thing worse than that is being boring. And I live by that credo, is that you can never be boring. If you're honest and you're entertaining and you're real, talk about that, if you're real, that's the Trump phenomenon. If you're real and people look and go, that's the guy who talks like me and is saying what I think, and he's saying in a way that I would say it if I was in front of a camera. If you do that, you win every time, and the people respect and love you. And that's what I always try to do.
I like that background you gave on your parents.
Yeah.
Surprised you didn't play lacrosse out there. Lacrosse is huge in Long Island.
Nah, I was a little too slow, a little too flat-footed. It's funny is that my 40-yard dash time, was
What'd
like
you run?
a 5.4.
I'm faster than that.
What? I
was
was good at bench press. I was more of a, I was more of a lifting guy than I was a speed guy. And as a long snapper, then you go cover the punts after you snap the ball. And so that, I would always kind of get mocked a little bit, like in the film
You didn't get
session.
far down the field.
What?
You didn't get far down.
Well, I just was, yeah. It's like, you're going against, we would open against always an ACC team. So those are guys who run 4.2s. And I remember one time we played the UNC Tar Heels, and whenever we would open against these teams, we would get our ass kicked. So we'd punt a lot, right? So I was the star of the show. So they had this punt returner. His name was Giovanni Bernard. He was the running back, and he played in the NFL for a long time. And this guy was just lightning. And then so they would, laugh about it in the film session because he would see me and he would just run right by me. And it was two different species. But
And what school did you play for again?
Elon University, Division I AA school in North Carolina. But I'll tell you this. I never had a bad snap, ever. 46 games in a row, the pressure, the crowd, the D linemen yelling at me, anything, never a bad snap, because at the end of the day, it's all about mental toughness. And that's actually my mindset, is that if you're mentally tough, you can literally accomplish everything. Nothing that anybody says to me or does to me or tweets at me or menaces me, literally I'm immune to it. And I think President Trump is, and I'm not comparing myself to him, but I think anybody who's good at anything, I think they're immune to the outside factors, to the criticism and the chatter, anything that'll knock them off their block. I had
a partner in the firm, Jim Hortenzio, great guy, say to me one time, compliance came at me as I started this podcast. As you can imagine, you're an investment manager and dealing with FINRA. They didn't like people online like me as I launched this.
Yeah.
And he's like, they made me sign this letter that they were going to take all my assets away and all this shit. Again, it was nothing that was hurting my clients. It was just bullshit, corruption. And he's like, things bounce off of you like a fucking metal bat hitting concrete. And because I don't really care. I don't really. I care in a sense of if I'm hurting someone, I care. I'm willing to listen. But everything else that you think about me or you formulate about me, if you're not in my trusted circle, I don't give a fuck.
I think it's probably the single most underrated quality. Everyone's like, oh, this person's really smart, or this person's really gifted in the way they talk, or this person is a great decision maker, great analyzer. But the ability to be unflappable, I think, is actually probably the single most underrated quality in anybody being good at anything.
Correct. So, went off to college. What did you study?
It's funny. I said to in high school, I was a very good student. I got very good grades. And when I got to college, my mom will love this, is that I was like, all right, I'm in college. I got the scholarship. I'm going to have a good time now, So I studied communications because it was the easiest thing. And I minored in political science, but I can't tell you one thing I did in political science, totally coincidental, because in college I was not political at all. I was literally just, boozing, and I would go out. Again, I'm not proud of this.
Did you vote in college?
No. I was boozing and long snapping, and that was it. I literally did not care. I was going out, I was having a good time, because in high school I was working so hard towards the scholarship. Want to make my parents proud, want to fulfill, again, not pressure, but I asked them to support what I wanted to do. So once I got it, I kind of felt relaxed. So I studied communications because I'm like, okay, this is an easier thing than business. And then as that went on, I said, I want to kind of maybe be involved in TV, like journalism, And then
Why?
Why? Because I was in the classes, you're in the intro comms classes, and you go two ways. You can go to PR, okay, and that kind of stuff, advertising PR, or you can go to TV reporting. So obviously, as people can see my personality, I'm like, oh, TV reporting would be really cool. I can speak in front of a camera, all this. And then I interned at CBS News, CBS Sports and CBS News when I was in college. So I was doing all that. And then as I was graduating college, they would say, okay, do you want to go work in journalism? You can go be a reporter in Boise, Idaho, or some, town in the Midwest where you got to cut your teeth and get your start. You can make 30 grand a year. I go, whoa, I can't do that. So that's how I actually got into the insurance business, what I did for a while before I got it back into politics. And that's how I actually made some money, was that I said, I need to go in business and I need to earn some cash. Because in order to do anything in this world, again, you said it to start the show, if you can make money without being beholden and someone telling you can't, or being afraid you're going to be, reprimanded, if you can do that, then you can do anything. And we have a problem right now.
I said that in the garage, but
you said it in the garage. Yes. We have a problem right now where too many people are working at a big company, and they're not bad people by any stretch, but they're protecting their family's interests and their job and all that. They're worried that with the cancel culture, they're going to lose their job. Now, that's kind of why, we want to start talking about these things. That's why I think that COVID era stuff and the way that the left thinks and the way, just like the globalism that's been on the rise, they want to destroy small businesses. And small businesses give breath to independence. When you're a small business owner and you make your own money and people can't tell you shit, you can say whatever you want. So
you can't cancel me. I don't care about YouTube. I don't care about Rumble. I don't care about sponsors.
So I think that they attack small businesses as a proxy to get people to have to be rehired at big companies.
Absolutely.
What was happening during COVID? They would shut down. They would say, okay, mom and pop store, you can't be open, but the big box store can be open. They were literally trying to kill small businesses. You could say I'm getting conspiratorial or whatever, but I think it was a reset. They were trying to do
it's not conspiratorial.
They were doing
Target's open.
Yeah.
Home Depot's open. Lowe's is open. Local restaurants shut down.
They were doing a global reset during COVID. They said, we're going to wipe people who've created independent wealth the worst we can. It was always in the liberal cities. And they were trying to destroy independent small business owners. So a lot of people who had small businesses had to fold it up, and now they work for a big conglomerate, big company. Now they got to adhere to their bullshit, red tape, DEI, nonsense. And it's not that they don't agree with us, but now they can't say it publicly.
What do you think about DEI?
Well, it's a scam. It's all a scam. DEI is a scam. DEI is inherently racist. And they do these things to destabilize people and to put us in boxes.
So let me ask you a question. Growing up,
yeah.
Did you grow up with anybody that was not white?
Yeah, so my high school was actually, I would say, somewhat diverse. You're probably thinking like North Shore, Long Island, but we had these two towns that were part of the high school that were, a bit more, you can call it lower class, whatever, but a lot of black kids, and playing sports my whole life, playing football, the team was 50-50. And then when I played college football, it was like, probably 70-30. So I've been, around,
different
black
cultures.
people and different cultures growing up. And again, when you grow up on Long Island, like you're with, you kind of grow up around everyone. You grow up with Jews, you grow up with Muslims, you grow up with Italians, you grow up with black people.
Did you point to owner when you said Muslims?
I'm sorry?
Did you point to owner when you said Muslims?
There you go. See? I love everybody, even you, Owner.
Yeah, it's crazy. I just hate how they grouped. I guess it's like our age, something around 30s to 45. We're all like, fuck you, don't call me racist. I'm not racist. And I grew up in Bricktown, which we literally had maybe 5 black kids and Puerto Rican kids, to be very honest. We did.
Yeah.
But I didn't look at those kids any differently. My kids don't know color. They don't know shit. I make sure they say hello to everybody.
Yeah.
So when I'm sitting there, and I don't sit in any type of training because I own my own business, but when I'm sitting there and I watch my friends go to these corporate trainings where they're sending me screenshots and going, Ryan, look at this test I have to take that they're telling me I'm racist, that makes me crazy.
Yeah. And I believe that everything is solved with a meritocracy. Meritocracy.
Gotta be win.
You're a meritocracy. Are you good? Are you bad? You're in the school. There's nothing inherently racist.
That smoke is hammering you, by the way, too.
Okay. I'm mentally. This is actually displaying my true toughness to the people. Okay. I don't know if any podcast guest has withstood the smoke as good as I withstand the smoke.
They did. So moving along. So you finish college, you go off, you start doing some reporting.
No, I went into the insurance business. I go into the insurance business for a little bit. I make some money, and then I get into reporting because.
And where'd you start?
So I started Right Side Broadcast. So what happened was, I was working in the insurance business. I just graduated college. It was 2015. The presidential election was going on. Trump was running. I always loved Trump. Okay, I am a day one. A lot of people say they're day one and they're not, but I'm truly a day one Trump guy.
Which guys say they were day one and they're not?
Well,
running right now.
Everyone in the gubernatorial field, nobody's a day one Trump guy. Spady is not a day one through and through Trump guy because he didn't want Trump to run again in 2024. He said it's time for DeSantis or Kristi Noem or whatever. Chittarelli wasn't a Trump guy, and Bramnick makes his whole campaign about being never Trump. So none of them are Trump people. But I was enamored with the Trump phenomenon early on. So it was 2015, October 23rd, 2015. I showed up at 6 o'clock in the morning. Trump was having a rally in Jacksonville, Florida. I was living in Jacksonville, Florida at the time. Trump was having a rally in Jacksonville, Florida, October 23rd, my dad's birthday, 2015. I showed up at 6 o'clock in the morning. I was the first person in the line. There ended up being 10,000 people there. I was in the first row. I was watching Trump up close. Afterwards, Trump would work the rope, work the line, and shook his hand, took the selfie. I have the selfie from 2015. I was there so early that local news, NBC, interviewed me in 2015 on camera, oh, this guy's here. He's a big Trump fan. First person in the line. So I've been on this since day one. And from that day, I said to myself, I love business. I love what I'm doing, but I want to be involved. I know that I have the voice. I know I have it within me. And I always think, if you have it within your heart and mind to be compelled to do it and to not care about the repercussions, if you have it in your heart and mind, you got to do it. You owe it to the people around you. So I always wanted to get involved. So it was actually during the COVID times when business kind of changed a little bit. And I had a friend who was working at Right Side Broadcasting Network, okay? And my friend at Right Side Broadcasting Network that I knew through just being social, not through politics. I really wasn't involved in politics. But I love the Trump stuff. I would consume all the Trump media stuff. I'd be reading about it, watching it. I was into it, right? On this guy from day one. And she said, oh, we need a reporter, to do some of these rallies, RSBN, we're doing all these rallies. So I started doing the rallies, and then I started a once-a-week podcast on RSBN. I did that, and that's actually the start of everything that ensued from that.
And that story in itself is crazy. That guy's from Alabama, you were saying?
Yeah, well, RSBN is a network that, truly transcended and went around the traditional legacy media, meaning that everybody is they're getting the press credentials and their CNN and their MSNBC. This guy who started RSBN said, what if I just bring a camera to a rally and just show the crowd?
Because Trump
would always say,
they're not.
They can turn those cameras around, So Trump would always say that. So that guy literally did it, and it changed my life. I didn't know that it would, because that's what got me in.
I just came up with a good idea.
Yeah.
All the fans that usually sit here, it's a Sunday, so we have less fans tonight, but we need to start turning the cameras around to the people that watch on the other end.
Yeah, we need it. Trump would say, these cameras, they can move like a pretzel, but they won't do it. So that's what started me on it. That's what had me meet a lot of people at the beginning. We were talking off camera before. That's how I met Roger Stone, who's become a mentor to me. And that's really what got me on the path for my first congressional run, and then for everything that I've done since in New Jersey. And it's been just a wild ride ever since.
Are you going to run for Congress again?
Absolutely. Absolutely. We have to. Obviously, 2022 I ran. I was a person who was a newcomer to it, and I ran for office because Trump said in 2021, somebody has to primary this guy named Chris Smith. Now, Chris Smith represents the district here. Chris Smith has a more liberal voting record than Liz Cheney. Chris Smith was for amnesty, for the illegals. Chris Smith was pro-Ukraine funding. Chris Smith is one of the most anti-2A people in the Congress. He gets endorsed by the Democrat gun control pact.
He's mad at guns?
This guy, he's the worst gun Republican in the whole house. You're just inherently a pussy if you're against guns. And he kind of looks and sounds the part. So this guy was never for Trump. This guy voted for the January 6th commission. This guy is not the right kind of person to represent a district like this. This is the most conservative congressional district.
There's a lot of guns here. People shoot I hear guns all day.
A lot of guns. This is the most conservative congressional district in the whole Northeast United States. I don't know if you knew that. The one that you're in right now.
That's why I live here.
Well, yes, and you're the smarter than most. But so I ran against this guy in 2022. And it was a 5-way race. I'd never been involved in anything, and I almost won it.
Yeah, how's that? How is that? You come on the scene. You launched this podcast. You're working as a reporter. You're now getting a little bit of eyes. You naturally have the personality, right? You have the charisma. Boom, you're on the scene. You're running against this guy Chris Smith in Jersey, 42 years, very connected. It's almost like the mob, let's call it, for lack of a better term. And now, boom, you're on the scene running. What is that?
And nobody else wanted to take him on because he's such an institution. Now, Trump called him out not knowing anything about anything. In New Jersey, he's this guy voted what he voted for. He voted for Biden's infrastructure scam, the Build Back Better infrastructure scam, which essentially was just a massive payday for Phil Murphy to give the money to whatever he wanted. It was a scam. And these guys vote for these things because it pays their buddies. And when you're in for 42 years, you got a lot of people you owe a lot of favors to.
Someone needs to get paid.
Yeah, people got to get paid. So that's the story of, again, we were talking before, that's the story of New Jersey politics, period. But so I'm running in the race and I get into it and you don't quite know what you're signing up for. You're like, okay, I'm going to run for Congress. You don't know about this system. You don't know about the thing we're talking about, the line. You don't know about what fundraising looks like. You don't know about anything. But again, I don't go into things to be a loser. I don't go into things to quit. So I go, I'm not going to, I'm going to give this thing the best I got, and I know we can win. So what you got to do is you got to do the hard things when you run for Congress. You want to be real. You got to fundraise. I was on the phones banging out cold calls for 3 hours a day to raise the money to do the necessary things to run a campaign. In 4.5 months, I raised $200,000, not knowing anybody. Again, I don't come from money. I raised that just on pure cold calls, made a lot of connections, campaigned like crazy, recruited local candidates for county committee, ran my campaign with a lot of energy. And I was going the whole time, to get support from Trump world and Trump people. And I was against Kevin McCarthy at the time. And being against Kevin McCarthy sabotaged a lot of the things that I had kind of going for me. I was, going to get Trump support, but the Kevin McCarthy people sabotaged it. And that's okay. That's okay, because Kevin McCarthy, as you see, he won Speaker by like a couple of votes. Remember that? The saga with Kevin McCarthy. Kevin McCarthy.
Gaetz and all that thing?
Yeah. Kevin McCarthy was counting those votes back in 2022, during that.
Where's he at now?
He's out, thank God. So Kevin McCarthy's gone. But anyway, so I was running that race, and you don't know anything about it until you get into the arena. You got to be bold enough to get in. You got to be bold enough to put yourself out there. And I did it, and I formed a great team, and I raised, money. And in 4.5 months, we got 40% of the vote in a 5-way race because other people jumped in too. And I got 21,500 votes, and he got 30,000 votes. And other people got, thousands of votes. And we almost had it. So we have to do it again because now that New Jersey politics is changing, now that Trump's back in, he's going to need reinforcements back in Congress. So we're going to.
Yeah, I give you credit. I know you for an hour, so I'm not saying I know wholeheartedly who you are and what your agendas are. And politicians have agendas, right? They just straight up do. And I think someone like you is saying, hey, let's be more real. Let's be more transparent. Trump is trying to be transparent. And again, everybody's got to play some type of game at, that level of politics. When you talk about things like the line, right?
Yes.
And we talked about this inside, and we heard about this with the regular election with Trump in California, like he was on a secondary page.
Yeah.
Things go on in Jersey politics that are really corrupt. Explain what the line means.
Right. So everyone always asks me, how do we have such MAGA people in New Jersey and they never win the primaries? How do we have such good people who put their hat in the ring but they don't win? And I almost tell them it's actually worse than you know. New Jersey has the most corrupt ballot system. New Jersey has the most corrupt ballot system.
We need to move this fire.
Out of any, that's how you do it, actually. See, if I would have known that, I could have thrown it in there.
We don't give you any. We don't give you any.
You don't let the guests know that because you got to see how tough they are. Yeah. But New Jersey has the most corrupt ballot structure out of any of the 50 states. They're the only state where the party chairman selects the ballot placement of the candidates he wants in a singular column, and then everybody
Quickly
else
explain to the dummy like me, what does chairman mean? How do you get that position? What does that mean?
So every county in New Jersey has a Democrat and Republican county chairman. They're the person who is the head of the party for that county. And the head of the party for that county, usually you would think, they love politics.
How did they get that position? Is it elected?
It's elected by what's called a county committee. County committee is a hyper-local thing that anybody can run on, but nobody really knows about it, so you can just put your name on.
Like 200 people vote maybe for that.
Less.
Yeah.
People you can just throw your name on a ballot and be the only person, be unopposed. So you can literally just put county committee people. So it's a racket, is that people who want to be the party boss because they want public contracts. It's all about public contracts. They want the legal work. They want the engineering work. They want the, infrastructure project, the contract.
Let's not get too far off base. Let's explain. So chairman now.
The chairman gets elected via placing people on a county committee. And when they get in there, they select the candidates that they want to be preferentially placed on the primary ballot. So if you are in a dominant Republican or Democrat county, let's take a dominant Republican county, for example, Ocean County, the one I live. If you're in a dominant Republican county, it is a huge business being the Republican Party chair because you determine who goes on the line. You determine who running for every local office gets the preferred placement on the ballot that a federal
Federally
judge
and locally?
every level.
So every level. So let me ask you a question. And again, I know nothing. So, for example, this line is the left side of a primary ballot, and then someone else will be on the right side or a secondary page.
Yes,
Am I reading that right?
Yes, they stick them out in what's called the ballot Siberia. So if you go in and you vote in a primary, you see everybody neatly. I'm telling you, most people don't realize this. You didn't realize you're a smart guy. You go in for a primary, everyone is listed nice and neat, a full column. That's because the chairman,
usually I go, Republican.
Well, but then there's like a Republican here, and there's a Republican there, and there's a Republican there, and they're scattered throughout the
It's
corner.
confusing.
And nobody knows what that means. And what it means is that the chairman takes everybody running from the top down for the office that's up that year, and they stack the candidates they want in the line. That's called the line.
So they primarily by themselves pick that line.
Yes.
And who does
because-
that in Ocean County?
I'm sorry?
Who does that for Ocean County?
Well, his name is George Gilmore.
And how long has he been involved in politics?
He's been involved in politics for over 40 years. He's done business with George Norcross. That's a name many people would know. He's done business with Leroy Jones. That's a name many people would know. He's the head of the Democrats. These are like the most prominent Democrats. It's a uniparty swamp. And his business is picking the candidates that make him the money. I'm going to put you on the line, which gives you a 15-point. Again, a federal judge, we'll talk about the lawsuit in a minute, but a federal judge ruled it gives you a 15-point bump. So you can't lose a primary when you have the line, essentially. Almost no one beats the line. My effort against Smith was probably the closest anybody's come in a very long time. But they give you the line. It's a 15-point built-in advantage. You never lose. But for that line, you trade your soul. You are now owned by the chairman. What does that mean? That means when he is asking for work from his engineering firm or his legal firm, you got to give it to him. Oh, he's marking it up at a 30% rate higher than what the going legal firm would charge for the town of, Plumstead or Toms River. The councilman can bypass that for certain types.
Or let's just say development or
yes.
anything to do with small
Yes.
business regulation or
the
so
developers,
here's another, and again I don't know this guy George Gilmore, but an unelected official, just like in the federal government, these people in these large agencies, the FBI, Department of Homeland, IRS, these people kind of dictate what's going on, and they're unelected bureaucrats.
Yes.
So same thing here at a hyper-local level here in Jersey.
Yes.
So he's a guy that has a lot of control and power. And I'm asking these questions because people need to fucking learn. They don't understand this, myself included. I'm not some smart guy who understands how the actual infrastructure of voting works.
Yeah.
So how do we get rid of that guy? Because that guy, to me, 40 years, and again, George, I don't know who you are, I don't really care, but that's automatically corrupt. I mean,
Yeah.
you're there 40 years.
Well, and then you go and you say, well, it's the lip service to the public. These are Trump candidates, and these are candidates that believe in conservative values. They don't believe in shit. All they believe in is getting elected so they can give the work.
So who runs for governor right now is boys with Gilmore?
So they can get the donations, so they can keep getting reelected, and the chairman can keep getting money off the contracts. It's a scam. They don't believe in any political values.
So what guy running for governor right now is working?
So Bill Spadia's campaign is run by George Gilmore. And he entered into an agreement with him in 2023.
Damn, I hate to hear that because I like Bill.
And he started paying him. And I call it a deal with the devil. You make a deal with the devil. You make a deal with a guy who's had deep ties to Chris Christie, deep ties to
Now, does Bill not
Norcross.
get elected without him, though?
Well, I'll tell you what. So this is why you asked the question, how do you overcome the line? How do you do this? So the line was on life support because of a Democrat named Andy Kim. Because the Democrats had the line too. And this really matters. I mean, this is literally how we'll break the system in New Jersey politics. Andy Kim sued about it in federal court. He had the money and the
It's so
lawyers.
dumb, but it's huge.
It's huge. He had the money to sue in federal court because he was losing all the lines to Tammy Murphy. That's Phil Murphy's wife. Phil Murphy's wife wanted to be the senator. So Tammy Murphy said, I got all the money. My husband's the governor. I'm getting all the lines, right? So she basically was doing that. And Andy Kim said, if I want to win, I got to break this system. I don't like Andy Kim. He's a liberal. He doesn't like me. He's arguably wears North Korean paraphernalia. I don't know. But he doesn't like me. But it was a good thing that he did because
Does he really back North Korea?
What? I don't know. So the federal judge, he'll never say no because we always want to be interesting. But the federal judge ruled that he was right. And because of that,
So Andy Kim's kind of smart.
he broke the line. So, but what happened
I kinda
was-
like Andy Kim for breaking the line.
Me too. So what happened was the Democrat line was broken for the primary last year, and that was a U.S. Senate primary. But the Republican line stayed because George Gilmore and the other Republicans who were in on the system who needed to live, they make money on it. They make $50, $60, $70, $80,000 a year on it. You wonder why they want to be the county chairman, a position that pays zero. They're making a lot of fucking money on it, right? So he sues to keep it in place. The judge goes, yeah, I guess this needs to go back to state court. We need to keep doing it. We need,
Whoa, how does that work? How does one party
Yes.
inside of a state say this line thing is corrupt? A federal judge agrees, grants them stamp, that can't be happening. But the other party inside the state, which is supposed to be, for the people, right, the Republican voters, allows it to stay and sues to have it stay.
Yes. And then candidates who are running for governor don't speak up about it. Again, that thing is on life support. You're not I would ask candidates to support abolishing the line. They said, I don't want to be a sacrificial lamb. So what do you mean you don't want to be a sacrificial lamb? Andy Kim is a U.S. Senator right now. And he went against the line.
So here's, and I like Bill Spadia. I've heard great things about Jack. A lot of friends of mine know Jack, say he's a really nice man. He's lost twice, so that's my beef. You lose twice, I don't know how you're going to win now. I think you're, that whole sacrificial lamb, you're not willing to stand up. Like, fucking Trump stood up and exposed the media. Trump stood up and exposed the fucking, corrupt system. You gotta be fucking somebody who has some, some courageousness in you. Don't be a fucking pussy.
Yeah,
like,
and it's not like, it's funny because it's a lot easier than what Andy Kim did. Because this thing is already on life support.
Andy Kim funded all to do it to take it out already.
Andy Kim
borrow his shit.
Andy Kim did 95% of the work.
I think Andy Kim's kind of good. I kind of like this guy.
It just takes.
You think he's friends with Kim Jong-un?
You never know. It just takes.
Trump likes Kim Jong-un, though.
Well, I mean, Kim Jong-un likes Trump because Kim Jong-un understands that
he respects power.
If little Rocket Man's going to mess around, then Trump's going to wipe him off the map because his button is bigger. What's crazy is how you can just do one little tweet. You can spend $0 on military stuff and you can get everything done in peace. But that's a side point. We're weaving back. So this thing with the line, so it's on life support. The federal judge ruled that all it takes is a litigant in this election cycle to say, I am suing this thing back in the state court case that was already opened by us, the America First Republicans, because we put it into state court after Andy Kim got the ruling in federal court. And nobody wants to do it. So we went to Bill and we said, we want you to be the line litigant. No. Why not? Because the answer's to George, because George hired him and George's whole existence is the line. That thing is on life support. So much so that
when you hire George, what does he cost? How much?
$30,000 a month.
That's anybody, everything? That's like his number?
Yeah, $30,000 a month. So, but he makes $30,000 from Bill, he makes $10,000 from Plumstead, he makes $20,000 from Town X, he makes $30,000 from Town Y. Paul Kenitra kicks in. It's organized crime. It's a racket. I give you the line and your protection. You give me the contracts and the money. They're all guilty of it. And the thing is that
the problem is it's so complex, and guys like me who are working on estate plans and pension plans, I don't understand this stuff. Obviously, I'm a guy who believes in freedom straight up, and I believe in Trump, through and through. I've been a big advocate of him. I don't understand any of this, and I know that if I don't understand it, it totally is. Yeah. And I think that this is good education that people need to get because they don't have it broken down. Like you said earlier, you said, I can't sit at a rally and explain to 10,000 people what the line is.
Yes.
And shit on all the guys that are in the state legislation that are sitting right there. So that brings us to the next point. So if you ever did get elected for governor, let's just say you ran, or a good friend of yours ran, because maybe maybe someone you know is about to run. Maybe, right?
Well, people think I'm going to run, so we'll see. Yeah, or somebody else.
Or
Who
you
knows?
run.
We're right now talking to a lot of people about a lot of things.
Okay.
Everyone is urging me and calling me to run, and I'm honored by it.
But let's say you run. You get elected, right?
Yeah.
How do you work with such a democratic state legislation?
Well, so the first thing is...
How do you push MAGA policies?
Well, I'll tell you this. So the first thing is that right now the state legislature is redesigning the ballots with the line. So that's literally on, like, they're going to change the ballots. The line's going to be dead. What that's going to do is that is going to, once that line is officially dead and they change it, that will change primaries in New Jersey forever. And that will allow the right lieutenants to get in under the governor. Gone are the days of the state senators and the assemblymen who are not built to fight.
So what does it really take?
What?
What does it really take? Money? We got to raise $5 million. What do we got to do? We got to get
we have to overhaul the state legislature and the Congress people and the senators and the governor, and you have to have people.
No, I'm talking about the line. How do we get rid of the line now? Because you said it starts with a line to then get rid of the legislation.
So they're redesigning it right now in the assembly. They're going to propose a changed ballot structure that might get passed into state law. But if it's not fair, then it needs to go back to state court, which takes a little bit of money. And it takes a litigant who has standing, meaning a gubernatorial candidate right now, because that's the most high-profile position, a gubernatorial candidate who is standing to go before the court and say this thing needs to be killed.
A gubernatorial? That sounds like
gubernatorial.
Sounds like fucking hey.
So this needs to be killed once and for all. You have to be a candidate to have standing. Bill Spadia is a candidate. He has standing, but he won't do it. Okay, I'm not a declared candidate. I don't have standing.
To Bill's defense, right? And Bill's not here. You know, this is a guy that has a radio show. Yes, he's involved in politics. I think he's a smart guy. I think he has, stats and numbers down, and I think he means well. I think his intention's in the right place. Like, he's going into this just like you did, right? Running for Congress. He's never run for office. He's been involved in politics. He's never run for office. Maybe he thinks this is the only way he gets in to then change it.
Well, but what you're doing is you're building a house on a foundation that will crumble. Because you want to do all these things, you want to do all these great things, you want to be a revolutionary, you want to change New Jersey, but who elected you? If you rely on the line, you will never be a reformer. We're in the MAGA era, okay? Politics has changed forever. We have this opportunity in time to have sweeping change because there's never been so many people who give a damn about politics. Again, we've never seen people who care so much, like everyday people who care like they do now. People, I always say,
because they're sick of it.
Trump's greatest legacy, there's a lot of great things that he's done, but I think his greatest legacy will be is that he woke up millions who would not care in any way, shape, or form.
I think he's woke up billions around the world.
Right? Around the world to the system. So in New Jersey, there's hundreds of thousands, if not million plus people who are now like, I never cared, now I'm looking, what's going on? So when I talk about what does it take, I run for governor. It takes a legislature of state senators and assemblymen on my side who are going to fight, use their powers, not capitulate to the Democrats, not cut the backroom deals. The biggest problem that we have is that a lot of the Republicans have to play ball with the Democrats, and they have to get the line with this scam, and everyone works together.
You talk about the bosses a lot.
Yeah. So all these members of the Assembly and the State Senate, they're all in the same game. They're in the line game. They're in the party boss game. So it's an illusion of choice. Democrats and Republicans the same. It's an illusion. That's why I say to any candidate running, you want real reform, you need to put the nail in the coffin of the line. And then you need to use the lineless system to lead a revolution of candidates running for state senate and the assembly, where, again, we might not get the majority because we're New Jersey. Now we're gaining, but you have the right people, the right fighters. Even in the minority, you can get things done. You can stop things from happening. You're not going to have people like John Bramnick, okay, the senator, he's running for governor, but he's a state senator. He voted for they call it the grinder bill, okay? This sexually explicit, disgusting, you should be shot on sight for supporting a bill. Why would he support that?
What grinder? What's the grinder bill? Hold on, time out. Let's take a quick break. Let's get back to party bosses and then grind. Like grinder? Like grind? Isn't that like a sex site?
Sex app. Yeah, they call it the grinder bill.
We'll come back for a second. Let's take a quick break. Listen, make sure you guys listen to this entire podcast because Mike is going to be unveiling some really important stuff that he's talking about inside the podcast. Stay tuned. Check it out.
Let's go.
So jumping back in, you put out an X tweet, whatever we call it nowadays. I want to give Elon respect. Let's call it X.
He helped.
Dude, he helped big time. I mean, he's on tour with Trump. I mean, he's his right hand man right now. Like I feel like he's
Doge. He has Doge. I said the other day that New Jersey needs a Doge. Why haven't any of the other gubernatorial candidates said that? We need a New Jersey Doge, don't you think?
1,000%. But you talked about party bosses. So you went out and put this video out, talk about the party line and all of these candidates being controlled by the party bosses. Who are you referring to?
Well, I'm referring obviously to people like George Gilmer, who we've talked about in this show, but every county has it, in the Republican or the Democrat side. I think that's one thing that unites people on both sides of the aisle. If you are a grassroots person, or if you are just a voter who wants to pick your local candidate who's going to do the right thing, or your congressional candidate that's going to do the right thing, primaries matter. Primaries, in many cases, are more important than the general election.
They're not paid attention to by most voters.
They don't pay attention. We talked earlier in the segment about like, okay, you become a governor, like how's it different? And I said, you need people with the right frame of mind fighting for you. If you're the governor and you have state senators and you have, your assembly people, you need the right soldiers. And so
how do we get people to pay more attention to the primaries? Shows like this?
Shows like this, and it's also, again, I do think the Trump effect is part of that. I think that the Trump effect of waking up millions of people who never thought about it now care, and now it's up to people like us to be out there to do it and to keep people excited about it. Again, like everyone's excited about Trump. You have to harness the excitement, and that takes obviously organization. It takes obviously money to reach the voters, and it takes repetition. Because again, I don't blame people for not being involved because life is really hard. And also life is hard. Like they're squeezing you with the taxes. They're squeezing you with all these things in school. Then you got to go to the school board meeting because your kid's learning about dildos and sex ed in the third grade. You got to go fight that. You're now like worried about being laid off because of the budget cuts.
We're worried about when you go fight it that the FBI is going to go fucking knock on your door.
List. Yeah. So it's like everyone's spread so thin. I can't blame people for not being as into it as I would love them to be into it, but it doesn't mean that people shouldn't take, I don't know, an hour to look up their candidate and to think, hey, I need to vote in primaries now. Because primaries matter. Because again, this term rhino and all this, like people in the establishment, the old timers, they like to say that that's an overused term. But it's an overused term because there's a disproportionate amount of these people. They're fake. They don't stand. We talked about like local stuff. Like, if you're a councilman.
They're all fake. If you're a politician for 25 plus years, you're fake.
But like being a rhino, okay, Republican in name only, means that you're not a Republican. You just are a Republican in name only.
Like Mitt Romney at a larger scale.
And on a local level, so many of the council people and assembly people and state senators that we're talking about who vote for certain things because of the line and because of the overarching aspect of making money, they're not a Republican. They're a Republican in name only. You see what I'm saying?
So before we went to the break, we talked about Grindr. You said the Grindr bill. Is that a real bill?
So they call it the Grindr bill. That's the slang terminology. But what it does is it essentially protects the sexual material with kids. Like, so like anytime like, kids are, preyed upon and they're teaching these things in schools.
Here's where I'm going to get passionate about this.
But Republican, this guy John Bramnick, who's running for governor right now, is a Republican, super anti-Trump guy. He was one of the only Republicans who voted for it. It's a bill that protects the Democrats, because they're all about protecting it, because they say it's equality. They're all about protecting.
Now, can I ask a personal question? I don't know this guy's background.
Yeah.
Does he have a kid that's like transsexual or like is there maybe a reason he has
his kid? I've seen his son. I mean, he's just like a geek. I mean, I don't think he's
the only reason I would think that like a Republican who stands for Republican conservative values. Let's talk about religion, Catholic. The Catholics have some issues too, but let's just say someone who's a Republican, no one's going to think that we should be teaching anybody who's, let's just say younger than 16 years old about sex. Sex ed in high school, get it. People are starting to have sex. They're starting to, grow up and have a girlfriend, a boyfriend. You need to know about, the birds and the bees. A guy or a girl in third grade does not need to know that shit. And it seems to be pushed on them, and they're being groomed in one light.
I said, and I put this out, and I'm putting out things that I think the next governor should do, as people are urging me to consider running for that, or who knows what will happen. But I said anybody who pushes these things on children need to not only be arrested, but they need to be registered as a sex offender forever. It's like if you're pushing sexual material on children, you are a criminal and you are a sex offender. And 10 years ago, you would have been killed. I said the word shot right before the break, and it scared people, but it's true. 10 years ago, that wouldn't even have been controversial. If you push sex ed on kids, you don't deserve to live. If you push sexually explicit, destabilizing material that is targeting and grooming, that is the worst of all, because children are our most vulnerable. And when you push something like sex, this like stuff that's going to like make them destabilize, you don't deserve anything. So when I see that guy vote for that, you think, well, why would they do that? Why would somebody support this? Or why would somebody turn coat on this? Or why would somebody do that? As we explain this whole line business, again, we will never know truly why anybody does anything, but we kind of understand in more of a clear focus of why people cut deals with certain people for what, if that makes sense.
Yeah, of course. Yeah, that totally makes sense. Yeah, and the education piece is a big question that we got today in my DMs as well as on the post. Education was a big one, and education was one for Bill, and I know it's going to be one for other candidates that come on. And my wife is a teacher in the system in Long Island and New York City, as well as Jersey, until they tried to force a pregnant woman to get a vaccine.
Horrible.
I really wish that Mattawan would have did that, because I would have sued the shit out of the district and I would have won millions of dollars, but I digress. You know, that's just disgusting. You know, like, teachers are there to teach our kids education, not about sex or what they should think. I'm sorry, that smoke is crushing. You're a champ. You're a champ with it. What would you do to halt that? Like, right away. Let's say you ran for governor, you won, or somebody you know and you're tied to ran and won. What would you do?
So when it comes to the sex ed or the vaccines, you're talking about the vaccines?
Vaccine separate, but yeah.
Yeah, vaccine separate. So obviously it's simple. Phil Murphy, first and foremost, you have to have accountability for what's happened. So if you don't strike back and if you don't hit these people back in the face, things will never change.
Yeah, I agree.
People get away with things and then we move on. Oh, these people, and I'm going to get back to it, but you know, these people like persecuted Trump, these people did these things, and everyone's like, oh, retribution, you know, that's a bad thing. If you commit a crime, you deserve to do the time. So if you go after Trump, you deserve to pay the price. This isn't like, oh no, now that he won anyway. You still committed a crime.
No.
Phil Murphy
Treason.
Phil Murphy committed a crime. Forcing the vaccines in the arms of people who didn't want to take it is a crime against humanity. And women are having problems getting pregnant. It's a big problem. And men are having heart problems. That's a serious thing. I think it's a crime against humanity. So I think the first thing you need to do is you need to have COVID accountability. You need to have COVID accountability, and everyone needs to pay the price. Secondarily, you need essentially, you know, the governor of New Jersey has an enormous amount of executive authority. It's one of the most executive authority rich governor mansions based on state constitution in the country. So you can mandate these things. You could say, hey, I'm not going to give any funding out of the state budget to your school unless you don't do that. So you could literally cut, and again, they're not going to fight it. Because
they did it the other way, though. We're not giving you funding if you don't do the sex ed bullshit.
Well, you do the opposite.
If you don't do the vaccine bullshit.
You do the opposite, and you say, we will cut every single dollar if you're going to force these things upon the kids. You're going to do sex ed with the kids, you're going to lose your funding. You're going to do forced vaccines, you're going to lose your funding. So funding is what keeps these people going.
So going into vaccines, let's speak for the parents who are worried, right?
Sure.
I don't want my kid to have polio. Let's just use polio, right? And again, I believe in you know, herd mentality. Most people are vaccinated for polio, so the chances of that coming back, and I'm not a doctor, I'm just a guy talking shit in my backyard, but you know, polio is not something I think is going to come back, but let's just say parents are worried about that.
Well, it's coming back.
Your kid's not vaccinated, you're going to school.
Illegals now are coming in the country and they don't have the vaccines. Everyone who cared about health wants the illegals to come in who have all these rare diseases.
Do they vaccinate them when they come across the border?
No.
And do they vaccinate them on the private jets?
No.
Do they vaccinate them on the buses?
No, and so they have rare diseases, and you know, President Trump said, you know, these people who come into the country, they come in and they're vermin because they come in, they take our resources, they have no respect for the thing, they commit crimes.
And then they go home.
I agree with the term vermin. Now, the New Jersey Press, Star Ledger, came at me and said it was like, you know, they said it was like fascist propaganda.
What is the Star Ledger? Is any papers in Jersey actually legit anymore?
Well, they put me on so they announced they were going out of business, but right before they did, they put me on the cover, so it's good. And there's a nice picture of me at the Trump rally. But
that's nice.
Back to your thing about the vaccines. I'm sorry, I derailed you, but you were talking about
the vaccines. Like that's so a family is afraid, right?
Yes.
I don't want my kid to get sick. I don't want to have this terrible disease and have this thing they have to deal with the rest of their life. I get that, and it's lies though. It's absolute lies. So when it comes to vaccines, are you going to be mandating people who go to public school or private to have all their vaccines if you ran for office?
So the first thing is the COVID vaccine. And obviously I'm against the COVID vaccine. I think that it was designed for nefarious means. I think that also the vaccine schedule that's required these days is too extensive. I mean, kids get 70 vaccines when they're born. Back in the day, I had I think I asked my mom, it was like 7. Okay, so I think this, I'm perfectly healthy. We're living great, right guys? I'm healthy, I'm spry, I'm on camera, I'm looking good. So it's like, I had 7 vaccines, I'm doing great. So I think that anything, this is kind of a funny answer, but anything that I had, it's fine. Anything that they're now pushing and adding to this vaccine schedule, it's too much. These pharma companies are making a lot of money. These pharma companies are also changing the ingredients in the vaccines in which they're pushing out for
and
higher
RFK and
profit
Trump are
margin.
obviously going to go after them heavily.
Yes, and I think that New Jersey needs to play a role in that. We can talk about that. But I think that the vaccine schedule has turned into a joke. So schools, so they require kids to have a certain amount of vaccines, but you have to follow this vaccine schedule that is way too onerous, that is many things that if a parent did their digging, they would say, whoa, whoa, whoa. Why is it now 10 times the amount that I had? And I'll tell you something else about the parents. I think that parents who kind of bristle at this, I don't think they're bad. I think it's a hard pill to swallow that the government would lie to you. So it's easier for them to say you're wrong. Again, I don't think they're bad. I don't think anybody like this is a bad person. When they kind of get mad about it, I don't think it's because they're bad.
Afraid.
I think they're afraid of the prospect of how deeply they're being lied to, and that's why they.
You almost can't swallow it. You almost wouldn't think that a bioweapon was released on the United States of America and the world with COVID, and it seems to be that's what happened. And Fauci and the people who funded it for many, many years with the Wuhan lab and many other labs around the world, creating these types of horrific things. We did that, and it's hard for people to actually say oh, that's not a real thing. And everybody out there that was oh, I want to just go have my beer, I want to get the vaccine, or I want my kid to be able to go to school again and not be home because that's hurting them too. No, you gotta stand your fucking ground and be an adult and make some tough decisions.
If every single person refused it, we'd have no problem.
Just say no. We don't need civil war.
If every
no.
single business on the block, I think back to Staten Island. And I got a lot of friends in Staten Island. I think back to Mac's Public House, which made headlines because they stayed open during COVID, during the New York lockdown.
Ian went to that.
And then and then they tried to. The cops came and tried to shut them down. If every business in Staten Island said we're joining Mac's Public House and we're opening, what are you going to do? Can't arrest all of us. You can't arrest all of us. 1 in 3 small businesses have never come back from COVID. So. When it comes to the whole COVID thing, and when it comes to the herd mentality you speak of, that's it. It's that people don't want to believe the truth. And I actually think, and this is a white pill moment, a positive moment, that RFK's popularity in the public discourse over the last couple of years. I'm a huge RFK
Showing
fan.
people are open-minded.
RFK and my good friend Roger Stone are very close. I'm a huge fan of RFK. Again, Trump makes the joke. He goes, RFK, you're going to do all the health stuff, go crazy, but stay away from the oil, right? It's a joke. You can stay away from those, the energy and stuff because he's a liberal in other regards. But on health, he's spot on. And the way that he gets reacted to when he gets on stage, they go crazy for him because he's the only guy who speaks out. He wrote the book, The Real Dr. Fauci, where he talks about the fact that Fauci is complicit in literal crimes.
Crazy book if you read that.
In a real society, Back to
the AIDS pandemic.
What?
Back to the AIDS pandemic.
That guy has been a pawn for the government for a generation, and he's made a lot of money from it. And it was AIDS, as you point out, and you know your stuff. And then it was COVID. And what happened after COVID? Ushered into the sunset. Again, it was a great reset, what they did during COVID. Fauci was right in the middle of it. Kennedy is the...
Do you think Fauci should go to jail for treason?
Yes. Absolutely.
Or even worse, be hung for treason?
I think that all of them should go. I think all of them, treason is punishable by death. So I think that these people have caused the death of thousands, tens of thousands, millions possibly of lives by lying to us. 15 days to slow the spread. Oh,
Do you think Fauci ever believed 4-foot rule worked?
I think 6-foot rule, are you kidding me? These people come out and say, sorry, we were wrong. We knew it, that the masks never work. We knew it never. No, they said we, not that we knew. We thought it did, but then afterwards we realized that we were wrong. Like there was no evidence based on hindsight. Hold on a minute. I'm not a doctor. You're not a doctor, but we knew it was bullshit from the start. Yeah. And people, again, I don't blame the people. Whenever I see somebody wearing a mask, and I see it again, having a place in Weehawken.
If I see masks nowadays, I blame them.
Well, you know what I think? I just think that here's what I think. I think this person is broken. They have been mentally broken. They were never a mentally strong person to begin with, but this broke them. And they are now forever. Their mental illness has been tapped, and they will keep the mask
gone
on and
forever.
live a miserable, sad life forever through the idiosyncracies that have been created. Like people like you and me will never
I
fall
walked
for
into a restaurant last night, and there was a waitress with the mask on. I said, Kelly, just beware. If we get this waitress with the mask, I'm asking for her to move the fucking table. Like, I'm not dealing with it. I just can't.
They're just broken people.
I don't care.
I mean, these people are broken.
I don't care.
So, and I think it's a crime against humanity to enable that predatory mindset
Well,
of
the
the
same
people.
thing. The mentally ill person that thinks that they're furry,
Yes.
right? Or they think that the 6-year-old thinks that like now I don't have a dick, I have a vagina.
Tom's River School District has litter boxes in the schools.
Right in TR?
Yes. I have a good friend who's on the Tom's River School Board. She's fighting against it. But weak people go along with it.
Whoa. So every school? Or
What?
just a couple schools? Every school in the district have...
To my understanding, Tom's River School District, I don't know if it's the elementary schools, I don't know if it's the high school, but I have a good friend on the school board. Her name is Ashley Lamb. She's doing the right things. She's one of us through and through. She really is. She's an amazing person. And she talks to me about it, and she tries to fight it, but they have litter boxes in the schools. In a normal society, you would take those kids and you would say, again, you wouldn't be bad, but you'd say you have a mental problem. You need to go to an institution. What is going on with the institutions right now? They've been repurposed to illegal immigrant encampments. So it's just, we have enabled things that should have never been
Back
enabled.
to my
in our
wife
lives.
being a
Yeah.
teacher.
Yes.
She's amazing. She's patient. She deals with me. Right? She's super smart. She's got a math mind, master's, and math and special education. She had a kid in this class, and I may get it wrong. I might went from a girl to a boy, and then a boy to a girl. Whatever it was, they transitioned to both, and then to a cat. And then between that and that person and their parents creating so much chaos for the school and my wife, and then the forcing of COVID testing and vaccines, my wife was, thankfully we were blessed to allow her to retire.
Yes.
And, but she loves teaching. She loves kids. You lost a good person that can impact the next generation from wild bullshit like that.
Wait a minute. You're tapping into a theme here. Is that, I think two very important things to our country and for the longevity of our country are, one, our children and their education. We're falling behind in education standards, woefully behind other countries. And we fall behind in the education standard, and children are, now learning DEI, the DEI stuff. They're learning, all of these destabilizing materials, the sex ed in the second grade. And the teachers who would
Marxism.
stand up to it are leaving. Mm-hmm. They're leaving. They're like, I'm out. People
Yeah,
like your
bad.
wife. But it's not just with kids. Like, teachers are leaving, so now they're left with ideologically left-wing teachers. You almost purge good people like your wife who stood for the right things and wouldn't tolerate that. Now you're only having a teacher class of people who are okay with furries and with trannies. And here's the thing. I'm not saying those teachers are bad. I don't think all of them are bad. But they're certainly weak, and they're certainly wrong. And they're certainly enabling mentally destabilizing material, and they're certainly not willing to say, hey, somebody's got to, say, hey, we're not going to tolerate this. Somebody's got to speak up. It's applicable in schools, and it's applicable in our military. Because in our military, they ushered in DEI, and they ushered in vaccine mandates. And that was the death blow to tens of thousands of troops who either left because
I think they're going to come in with a swift swoop and reverse that in the military real quick.
Well, Pete, that's why they're fighting Pete Hegseth so much, because Pete Hegseth is truly an outsider in the system. People are saying all these things about Pete Hegseth, and they're throwing all these accusations.
He drinks and he sleeps with women. Like,
yeah,
okay.
wow. He drinks alcohol.
I drink
and
too.
He sleeps with women. That's
Hey,
what we
shout
call.
out to Pete.
That's what we call a red-blooded, successful alpha male.
So talk about real quick, women, right? Like, what's your dating life like? Let's just.
Well, I'm 31 years old, and you can call me an eligible bachelor, and I think that, as President Trump would say, I like beautiful women, and I'm out there.
Is that a bad thing? Because for like the last 5-6 years, it seems like you're not allowed to say like that
almost
girl
a bad
is
thing,
hot
yeah.
or like.
No, I think it actually. I meet a lot of women out there, and I think I do well with the ladies, but I think that being a good-looking woman or whatever, and 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 this thing. Why can't you say it? Why can't you say a
So
woman's
weird.
beautiful? Why do you?
And women want to be looked at as beautiful.
And guess what? Women, hot women,
One alpha
beautiful
males.
women, they love Trump. They all love Trump. Everyone's like, he's a sexist. He's anti-woman. They all love him. So my dating life has never been better.
Here's another thing I always ask too. Like everybody always says this, and obviously I just threw this question in for fun.
It's okay.
They'll judge us on it, whatever, fuck them. But like women don't want to be looked at that way. But like 50 Shades of Black, right? Is that the book?
Gray.
50 Shades of Grey, right? Like
Producers know. Why do they know?
women go crazy over that book in that movie, and they're like all those types of books, but they don't want a male who loves them and loves them.
Well, it's funny because we're creating this culture of these weak cucks.
Like these soft beta males.
Yeah, we said it at the same time.
It's
Jinx,
fucking weird.
It's like women like alpha males. Women love Trump. Women love Mike Crispi. Sorry to say it. And it's like
let's not get carried away.
We talked about before the show. I said I would say things that are a little funny, but so I think that it speaks to a greater theme is that we're trying to create a culture where
we need alpha males back.
You need alpha males back. And we're trying to create a culture where the alpha males
Here's a great, and no joke, this is no joke actually. It's something I have seen in my life I've been married 6 years, but I've been serious with my wife for 11 years. And I see a lot of relationships around me, really good dudes that I like. They're hardworking guys. They like hunting, fishing. But something has happened to them to really chase their goals. And sadly, money does come to the forefront because people want to have a bigger house and a better lifestyle, and something has shifted where these tough women have come in, and some of them are very good-looking women.
This.
No, but the tough women have come in, and they have almost had to step up for their males, and the males get put on the back burner, and it's like, dude, your wife is doing that and putting you in that place because you're not stepping up as the male in the home. And I think we need to change that guys. Do shit that scares you, bro.
It is such a great point. We need to return to traditionalism. You know why? Because that's what built this country, okay? Women need to be feminine and men need to be masculine. Women have things, again, it's not a controversial topic. Women have things that they are most comfortable and most happy doing through all of time. It's only the last decade that it's become this girl boss empowerment movement, and that has been designed to destabilize the nuclear family.
And the girl boss that wants to do it too, good.
It's great.
I back her.
But what they do is they create, and I'm telling you, I'm so glad you bring this up, and these are things I don't usually talk about, is that it's such a rancid culture, is that they push these things. Again, if you want to be a girl boss, that's great. I know women who do very well, but they push these things you work in the workforce, you work for some company that doesn't give a fuck about you, and you're doing these things and you're slaving away, and then you put off having kids, and they tell you to freeze your eggs, and then you do that, and then you go back and it didn't work, and then you can't have kids, and then you're 40 or 50 years old, and they regret it, and then men are weak and men are destabilized because of the culture that's created, so they become afraid of women, and then also they become things they become addicted to porn and addicted to other stuff, and so they don't want to talk to real girls. And I'm telling you,
they have a meta girlfriend.
Yeah, the AI. But think about this. I always say this: these kids who are the furries and the trannies and stuff like that. What are the parents? But what are the parents doing? We talked at the beginning about my parents. I have great, strong, traditional, good-looking, masculine, feminine parents.
I think it's a great thing.
Why I am. But if a kid is a furry or if a kid is a tranny, who are the parents?
I think you can go back to the parents pretty quick and find. I'm sure there's anomalies there, and I'm sure there's. I'll give you a quick example. The other day we're driving in the car, and my daughter's 2, and she just is a parrot. She just says things. She doesn't really understand what she's saying yet. She's 2.
Yeah.
And she's a savage. And don't mind, my phone keeps going off too. It's my trail cams.
We're good.
And she said something like, "No, I'm the daddy." And we're like, no, you can't ever be the daddy. You're the mommy because you're a girl, right? So now imagine the whack job that's like, oh, so you want to be a daddy? And they start to allow that to happen. So do you think you're a daddy? And now they're fucking with this kid's head. Yes. It's absolutely disgusting.
And then they go to school, and then the teachers that are left are the teachers that will enable that behavior. They'll enable it. Oh, you think you're a boy?
Yeah,
and
that's
you're
what I
a
mean.
girl?
That's what I mean.
And the teacher does it.
Yeah.
So I think some parents do it. These kind of like, I always say like, I always think that, the same people like, a success.
Do you think they're sick and twisted, or do you think they think they're doing the right thing? They want to let a kid.
The parents of the
live
teachers.
gay. They want, and I think being gay is real, right? It's like a thing.
Yeah, I think being gay is different than being a furry.
Yeah.
I mean, I don't think the gays would want to be linked in with the furries. So I don't think the gays would want to be linked in with the trannies. So I think that
LGBTQ junior.
yeah, why are you linking all this
FG,
stuff? And why do they also link in like? It's funny, they do LGBTQ and then they link in like B whatever, and it's like they link in the black community. And anybody I know in the black community goes, why are we linked in with these people? They don't be linked in. But you ask me, are they mentally ill? Are they thinking they're doing the right thing? I think it's a byproduct of a system that we have created over time. Again, it's like a slow walk to America being over as we know it. It's a slow walk to the greatest empire on earth being over. Yeah. And you create destabilized people. They meet, they mate, and they create a kid who has problems. People like me, again, successful men, beautiful women, it's a story's oldest time. Those people still exist, but they're trying to rip that away from us.
My wife loves being a stay-at-home mom and taking care of the house and doing the laundry and all. Like that was her dream. When I met her sister, she told me that. My sister doesn't want to go to work. She was mad at me one time, like I was going to break up with her sister or something. My sister wants to stay at home. She wants a sugar daddy. I'm saying this.
My mom is a stay-at-home mom. I think it's great.
It's great. My wife, her job is the toughest job.
And the most fulfilling thing, when you're 90 years old, when your wife is 90 years old, I mean, you're older than your wife?
Yes.
So, okay, so you'll 90, when she's 90, maybe you won't be around, but you'll be 90. And let's say, God willing, lives a beautiful life. She's on her deathbed. Everyone will be. Everybody's mortal. She'll be surrounded by grandchildren and great-grandchildren and
Her life is fulfilled.
And that is fulfillment. Your Citibank lawyer job isn't going to give a fuck about doing your deathbed, but your great-grandchildren. You'll have 30 people in the room who can attribute their life to what she did.
And we both went off on a rant there. and I want to say to the women out there that want to hustle, like, I'm down with your hustle. I truly am. And if you're not somebody who wants to have kids, guess what? We live in the best country in the world still. You have freedom to do whatever you desire. But the women who are with men and you try to play, no pun intended, the trump card with them and control your man, like, how about you anoint him and lift him up and give him some encouragement to go be that alpha male? And again, I guess maybe you are and you aren't, but stop trying to be the dominant role in the relationship. And I'm not a fucking relationship counselor at all. Trust me.
I mean, this show might be repurposed. I mean, there's some very clippable dating
Dr. Phil's coming back.
There. Yeah.
But like, seriously, the feminist movement out there, just chill out a little bit. Let some good alpha males come into your life and give you some good loving, and then maybe
you'll be much happier.
Maybe you'll smile a little bit more.
You'll be much happier.
Anyway, moving on. I want to talk about, you were talking about environmental, RFK.
Yes.
Wind and windmills off the coast of Jersey is killing whales.
Yeah.
And it's going to make our shore look absolutely disgusting, which is some of the most beautiful beaches in the country. Talk about what you would do to shut that down right away.
So I got. You invoke RFK. I'll just say one thing before I get to that. I said this, that New Jersey needs to do their part in making America healthy again. So I think, and we get back into this, but America needs to ban. We have a big problem with our food supply, with the chemicals and the stuff they're putting in. So if we talk about make America healthy again, we need to ban. I think the next governor should ban seed oils, red dye 40, and all the other chemicals they put in the foods. And you know what? Everyone's like, oh, what do you mean you're going to ban it? We're not going to sell it at New Jersey grocery stores. What'll happen is all of those companies will capitulate because it's not more expensive to manufacture food.
They'll figure it out.
It's not more expensive to manufacture food that doesn't have poison in it.
Yeah.
And why would we want to buy poison? Why would you want to give
They
people
don't have it in
option to buy
Europe.
poison? Exactly. And all it is it's not less expensive, but it just feeds Big Pharma. Yeah. And so it's just a scam with Big Pharma. So that's a sidebar. We can talk about the food. But the windmills, you mentioned that. I said this, that anybody right now who is enabling this windmill scam is doing it for one reason. And again, it comes back to the money. It's kind of cynical and, again, of black pills, they say, how it comes back to the money. These politicians who claim they're environmentalists and claim they're climate, I love the climate, I love the environment, I love all this. they are enabling these windmills to
You
be
talking about the Green New Deal isn't about money?
the Green New Scam. Matter of fact, it's funny because like have some balls. These Republicans who voted for the infrastructure bill, again, that's what got my entrance into Congress. Because if Chris Smith doesn't vote for the infrastructure bill because he doesn't believe in climate change and solving climate change, the scam that is climate change, that infrastructure bill, 80% of the money went to green scams, right? Things like windmills, that's infrastructure. So
Your company better be ESG because there's
Yeah,
indexes that track you.
ESG.
And ESG funds, and then
Yeah.
private equity better have ESG funds. It's so corrupt.
So the windmills are a massive problem. I've called for them to be totally banned. They should be ripped down because one, I think that you can call it morale matters. You can't be looking out at your beautiful shore and see all these these wind things, right? It's just not right. Like you should be able to look at beautiful beach, beautiful shore, and out of these ugly ass wind turbines, which by the way, don't do anything. They kill the birds and they kill the whales. So they kill the whales because they're doing the excavations and the whales like send the signals and they're killing the whales. So that's wrong. If you're a whale killer, you're a killer. You should be tried for that. You should face the consequences for that. But then it also kills the birds. And then it also doesn't do anything for energy. We live in New Jersey. It's a cold
They're
state.
also super expensive. Not even the ones offshore on water. The ones on land, they're expensive to keep up with.
So if it gets too cold, it doesn't work. And New Jersey...
Germany has like a major no wind issue right now because of like, I think I'm pretty sure it was Germany. I may be misspeaking, but one of the countries over there in Europe, they had like a wind drought. So none of the wind farms were producing energy. Like,
And I'll tell you this,
how stupid is this?
These people are obsessed with stopping energy that has powered our country and built our country, and that's natural gas. You know, things that oil and natural gas.
Nuclear.
I think nuclear as well. I think that you are not going to change. All these climate change fighters are the biggest idiots because what is China doing? What is India doing? They're the biggest world polluter. They're polluters. I mean, again, I like the environment. Republicans actually, in my opinion, have the high ground on the environment because we believe in open space, we believe in preservation, we don't believe in overdevelopment.
Open space.
Open space. Look at this beautiful open space. A liberal wouldn't even know what to do with these logs with a fire, you know?
They'd be like, where'd you cut it down?
So, no, yeah. So, I think that Republicans own that issue. Democrats try to claim the climate change mantle, and they kind of almost, in a very weird, sick way, almost make it a religious thing. It's like, oh, we're climate change. Like, our world is going to end if we don't have climate change. And if you're not with us on climate change, you know, you're going to hell. It's like, it's disgusting. So I always have said this, Republicans should not give an inch on climate change. Trump said it best back in the day. He said climate change is a scam narrative purported by the Chinese to make the USA non-competitive manufacturing.
Yeah, because they're not following any of it.
He was right.
They're not following any of it. They're not following any. So I'm going to go into some fun questions. You've done a great job answering your questions on New Jersey. I'm going to go up to the macro level, back to federal, and ask some things that may be more conspiratorial. So I want to talk about Obama. Because Obama is somebody who I believe was propped up by somebody with big pockets and somebody who was very involved to come help destroy America. Right, yeah. And that's my belief.
I believe it.
I'm not saying that I'm right or wrong. And you watch how he walks, and you watch his mannerisms, and you hear all of these things like Pizzagate with Podesta, and all of these people tied to him and Hillary, and what was going on. You think someone like Obama is gay, and do you think that these people at the top, and I'm not saying, but allegedly, a lot of these people are somewhat involved in sex trafficking of children?
Well, I'll start this. And I'm not saying this because we're on the Fireside podcast. Where there's smoke, there's fire. Barack Hussein Obama, okay, this is one of my favorite
Owner's
topics.
uncle, by the way, so be careful.
Barack Hussein Obama is not from Chicago. He's the adopted son of an Indonesian billionaire named Lolo Sotoro. Are you familiar with this? So he's an adopted son of an Indonesian billionaire. He is a manufactured vessel. He's a prop, as you'd say, to usher in New World Order and the destabilization of the United States of America. It's fact, okay? Lolo Sotoro adopted Barack Obama, and nobody changed it. Trump, again, another old Trump tweet. Nobody changes their name. He changed his name from Barry Soetoro to Barack Obama. Okay, so I think Barack Obama was not born in the United States of America. I think he was born in Kenya. I think he was adopted by Lolo Soetoro. I think he was propped up and put in position to run. And if you want to talk about who Barack Obama is, okay, and talk about, where his, you asked me like his sexuality. There's two things that come to mind. One is that Barack Obama's biographer said that he would talk about things like that. He would have homosexual thoughts and stuff like that. His biographer said that, the person who was with him writing the book about him. And then one of his ex-girlfriends released a letter that said, in a letter, again, I guess like back in the day they couldn't sext, so they would send letters. We also talk about this, by the way, what are the candidates? But is that he said that he has sex with men in his imagination. Who says that? I'm a very heterosexual person, as you, I'm sure. But who would utter the words, I have sex with men in my imagination? That was put out in the letter from Barack Obama. But
you think that was put out to get the gay vote? Was it strategic, or did he really say that?
But the Democrats, so that was put out, I don't know, that was within the last year that letter came out. And the Democrats are not talking about it. But I'm like, wait a minute. You guys love the LGBT. You had the first gay president. Barack Obama was the first gay black president. Why aren't you celebrating that? So, I mean, it's obvious. And then Michelle Obama, obviously.
You hear all the jokes, Mike.
Obama. She has bigger lats. I mean, I was playing college football. She's jacked.
She could definitely.
And I don't know her thing, but I'll tell you this about Michelle Obama. If Michelle Obama is in fact a woman, okay, jury's out. But if she's in fact a woman, there is, and this is super scrubbed. Do you know about the MIT professor?
Yeah.
Wow, you're good. Very based. I picked the right podcast to come on. I want to fist bump you right now because nobody knows that. Nobody knows about the MIT professor who was sworn up and down.
Always, the way that Obama was able to capture so many people, it flew my. I'm an empath. I could read people. I could feel people. It's like a street smart thing. I don't know why I have it. I don't know why God gave it to me. I'm not that smart. Again, I'm just a guy in my backyard talking shit. But there was something about that was just fucking way too much bullshit.
So for the people that
I started to dig into them.
So for the people who don't understand this at home, there was a professor at MIT, again, not a kook, not a conspiracy theorist, not a crazy person. And he said that he was the donor, the sperm donor, because he's obviously he's an MIT professor. He's in a very elite class of intellect. That he was a sperm donor for Michelle Obama. Is that the children of Michelle Obama are his children and not Barack Hussein Obama's children. And that it was an arranged marriage. Again, no candidates will talk about this, but it's fact. He said it. And then they scrubbed it off the internet.
Yeah, why does it matter that we should talk about it? Because I think we should talk about it.
We should.
All of these people who lie need to be exposed.
People don't want to talk about, no matter what you're running for, people don't want to talk about the reality and the truth. I mean, these are real things. And people out there will say, play it safe, do this. And it's called the consulting class. The consulting class of politicians, they come in and they get in the middle of what real people think about real issues. They come in and they do their little polls and they do their little studies and they say, don't say this, don't say that, this is more appealing. Just be real. We talk about this off the air. Mike Crispi has aspirations to run for politics. I could never do this. You gotta have fun in order to do anything. I could never do this if I had to follow a script and not say certain things and say certain things. It's like I'm going to say exactly what comes to my mind that I know to be true because I'm not a dummy and I do a lot of research. I said
about in the future I would help you out if what?
If I ran for Congress.
No, but I'm saying, but I'd help you out.
If I stay true to how I am, and I always will, and that's the word. And you can't, again, to do that, you can't make a 50-year career out of it. You just can't.
No, it has to be 8.
You come in, you drop the bomb, you know what you can do, you make your impact,
out.
You get out. It's funny is that Matt Gaetz actually, he kind of did that when he was in there for a while. He came in, he got McCarthy.
How about that whole Gaetz thing? They have this whole, flow chart of all these chicks he paid for sex.
Well,
do you believe that?
Oh, you're asking me all the right questions. And by the way, I'll wrap with Obama on this.
Because I think Gaetz is smarter than paying all these chicks on Venmo.
But the last thing with Obama, Larry Sinclair. You can see Larry Sinclair. He did the Tucker interview. I talked about Larry Sinclair. You know, when I actually first started media, I didn't mention this at all. I was big on TikTok. I would literally go on TikTok before the algorithm or anything, and I would post videos, and they were all super viral. That's actually how my podcast started. I'd be on TikTok. I'd make a 1-minute video. It would go mega viral.
I never posted on TikTok.
And I would do TikTok, and they would all have 1 million views. So I posted about Larry Sinclair and Obama. That's what got me banned. And then I see years later Larry Sinclair on Tucker. Larry Sinclair has this very specific story about him giving, a blowjob to Barack Obama and girl in Illinois to comfort it and squeeze. Yeah. So anyway, that's Barack Obama. So there's a lot
actually, he said he took him in the limo. There was a little bit more detail.
You know it. By the way, what you know as a podcast host is like in the 1%. Yeah. So now back to Matt Gaetz. So this is the Matt Gaetz story, and I've studied the Matt Gaetz story. I've met Matt Gaetz on several occasions. I know him. We follow each other on socials. I think what he did with Kevin McCarthy was amazing, because Kevin McCarthy
held his ground.
He was one of the biggest slime balls ever to seek the speakership for multiple reasons. I mean, on policy and on principle, McCarthy was horrible, and McCarthy set a precedent that should never be followed again. Is that he spent millions of dollars in primaries to rig his own vote, including mine. He spent $2 million of what's called the Rule 11 money. We don't have to get into that, but you can just say for the audience out there, he spent $2 million against Mike Crispi for Chris Smith in that race to thwart me, and I was a $200,000 candidate, and he gave $2 million to Smith to thwart me in that race, and he did it with like 10 other races because he was trying to count his votes for the speakership. Back to Matt Gaetz. You asked me about Gaetz. So here's what happened with Matt Gaetz, okay? Is that Matt Gaetz, this is what I believe, and again, it's not the greatest story for Matt Gaetz, but this is just what happened from my digging on it. Is that Matt Gaetz knew a guy named Joel Greenberg, okay? Joel Greenberg was the tax collector, an elected position, I believe, in Florida. And Joel Greenberg, in his capacity as a tax collector, had the ability, I don't know how Florida politics work, but he had the capacity to print driver's licenses. So, you have the capacity to print legal Florida driver's licenses in the state. And so Joel Greenberg was a guy, rich guy, came from money, spoiled rich kid, a lot of drugs, a lot of partying, a lot of whatever. This guy, Joel Greenberg, has a lot of problems. Joel Greenberg and Matt Gaetz kind of become friends, and Matt Gaetz is a bachelor and he's dating girls, and Joel Greenberg has printed IDs for these girls. So Matt Gaetz is out there, and he's a bachelor and he's meeting girls through his friend Joel Greenberg, and Joel Greenberg has printed these IDs that, again, the girl's 17 or whatever, but, Joel Greenberg, who had problems, he's involved in prostitutes and a lot of other things. Joel Greenberg prints these IDs in his professional capacity, and then Matt Gaetz goes with it, and he I guess dates a girl or flies a girl out or whatever he did. And thank you.
Trying to move that smoke off.
But I'm withstanding it like a champ. But this is amazing. This is the best podcast set ever. I'll say it's better than mine. It is better than mine because it's outdoors.
Yours is awesome too, by the way.
Yeah, but producer Frankie, can we do outdoors if you're watching? I don't know if you can. So anyway, Joel Greenberg has these problems. Gaetz is his friend. Gaetz is dating this girl, doesn't know her age. She probably is 17, maybe, but she has a legal Florida ID that says she's older. So that's the situation. They jam Gaetz up. Gaetz gets jammed up. They use it against him.
He bows out.
I'll tell you this, Gaetz stood his ground like a champ with McCarthy, stood his ground the whole way through. Gaetz is phenomenal. Gaetz is a hero. I have all the respect in the world for Gaetz, and I think that if
How old is Matt Gaetz?
Probably in his 30s, I believe. But
how old was this 17-year-old at the time? When was that situation?
So I think he was probably he got elected to Congress in his early 30s. So I think here's the thing with it is that if you're dating a girl, and some girls, if they're showing an ID that says they're 21 years old, and you're dating a girl and she's 17 or 18 or whatever, and she has an ID and she says she's 21, what can you do? Or if she says she's 25, what can you do? So I think Matt Gaetz got jammed up. I think it's an unfortunate situation. I think that
he can help and go after them in other ways.
He can go after them in other ways.
Special counsel.
And I think obviously, that's the thing with like people who are rising up in politics. If you have no dirt or if you have nothing like that, they fear you the most. So like with me, like I always say this to people, is like, I got nothing. I've lived a clean life. You know, no angry exes, no crimes, no problems, no money problems, no legal problems, no women problems. They fear the most people who either can't be bought or they can't have dirt dug up against them and that be used against them.
It shouldn't even be that. That shouldn't.
But they
even,
do it. But
that,
they do
yeah,
it.
it shouldn't even. They shouldn't even do that. You know, whatever. I won't get off topic. But something you did when you were 19, 20 years old, and now you're 35. You're a much different human being.
Well, I'll tell you this too: is that I think that people if I was advising anybody running for office, like how would you handle like some type of thing coming out? Like Kavanaugh is a perfect example. When Kavanaugh was doing the Supreme Court, I thought he did a great job because he stood his ground. You have to stand your ground because no human is perfect. Every human is flawed. Every human has a past. Okay.
Yeah, he was great.
Now, criminal. I mean, if you're a criminal, if you're a sex offender, like
much
obviously
different.
there are
Yeah.
bad things. But doing things that normal people do, okay, there's no problem with that. The American people will see through that. Pete Hegseth is an example of that.
Trump is.
Trump is an example.
They got him on
of
camera
that.
saying, "Grab him by the pussy."
That's true.
Right?
I say grab him by the personality.
Yeah.
So Trump.
Locker room talk,
Locker room talk. Trump,
which is real. I mean, any guy that wants to
Trump,
be real, it's
locker
real.
room talk. Everyone knows it. They try to play this intimidation high ground game.
The ones
and get
who
people
fuck
What-
kids
listen,
are the ones who try to say, "Oh, he's so bad because he wants to sleep with all these women." Yeah.
Once you
Yeah.
apologize,
Yeah.
and by the way, they try to cancel me for many things, okay? And we talked about it off camera, the thing with the Walls family. They want you to apologize. And so like the thing, we don't have to get into it, but like when they try to cancel me because I talked about Tim Walls and like, you know, the thing with like his family and they're all being weird and I'm like, this kid's not a hero. They said, they tried to get me to apologize. Now many other people had the same thoughts about that moment, but they all apologized. They just pile on. You can never apologize if you don't do something desperate. Like, listen, if you commit a crime or if you do something terrible, yeah, you apologize, you recant. But if you've done nothing wrong,
With no bad intent.
you have no bad intent, you shouldn't apologize. Let me tell you something else. You're right. You talk about them preying on children, Epstein Island, these other things. I mean, these are bad people. So it's such a disingenuous thing that they embark on when they try to go after us because if you look into their past, it's worse than anybody. You should have the courage to say it. And it's the case with so many people. Local level, state level, federal level. If you look into their past, they're just as bad. You should have to hit the bullies in the mouth.
They're worse. Rolling to an end here. Are you going to run for governor?
Well, I got to tell you this. So many people out there have encouraged me to do it because...
Has the Trump team encouraged you?
Well, so obviously I have great relationships with many people in the Trump campaign. And, President Trump said it himself, and he was on the stage in Wildwood, Mike Crispi has a big future, and we're with you. And that means the world that President Trump has expressed his
That's a
support
huge shout out, by the way. A lot of people are trying to figure out how you got that shout out.
By giving a good speech. Again, loyalty matters. I'm the only person who's been with Trump since day one, never wavering. Again, I'm not throwing shade. Bramnick's not with Trump, never has been. Chitterelli didn't support Trump in the early days. Spady didn't want Trump to run in 2024. And people are like, oh, what is this? And I don't want to get into fighting, but one of Spady's top surrogates was like, oh, Mike Crispi's a Trump cultist. No. I'm built for battle. I don't fall prey to the narrative. Because you know what they do? You know what they do? They try to get you, it's a drumbeat. CNN, even Fox News, MSNBC, they try to sow seeds of doubt. Trump is finished. Trump is this. Just go with someone else. Just go with DeSantis. Just go with Noem. Come on, we can work together, but just not
Every
with Trump.
person they tried to anoint to Trump, I knew he was going to smash them.
They just try in a slow procession to get you off what you knew was right at a certain time.
Yeah.
And that's why people are like, oh, Mike Crispi, why does it matter about the Trump loyalty? What are you, a cultist? That's what this guy Phil Rizzo, who's a Spady surrogate, said. He said, what are you call me a Trump cultist? I said, no. It's that Trump was right. Trump was always the guy. The American people knew Trump was always the guy. But many of you cut and ran when the going got tough. I never cut and ran because I wasn't
Same.
susceptible to your bullshit.
I wasn't
sowing
worried about what
seeds
you
of
said
doubt.
about me.
I didn't care what you said. You weren't going to sow seeds of doubt. Trump was always going to be the guy. It doesn't mean I'm a cultist. It means, you know what it means? It means that I'm immune.
Yeah, someone said to me on
you
my thing,
trying to knock
Ryan,
me
this
off
is a
my block."
business page. When did this become a Trump fan page? Like, this has always been about my country, my family, and helping others get the financial freedom. And you know what that starts with? Fucking freedom.
There is
and
never-
Trump was the only one actually standing up for real freedom.
There has never been another man in politics. There's never been a man in politics like President Trump, and there will never be a man in politics ever again like President Trump.
Let me ask you this.
And that is why he's so special.
If you don't run for governor, who will you back? I personally like Bill. I sat here last week, had a really nice conversation with him. He mingled around my friends, was a nice guy. Jack, again, I hear great things about him, but you know, if he wins the primary, obviously I'll vote for him over the other candidate. But who are you going to back?
Well, I don't think the field is settled yet.
All right.
So I think that if you're running for governor, what matters is, one, where you stand on the issues, the MAGA issues. Two, where you stand on this party boss stuff. We didn't even talk about the RNC committee, but I've posted about it, so you can read my posts about it, of how George Gilmore backed Chris Christie's right-hand guy as the national RNC committee man to the RNC.
What do you think of Christie?
He's the worst, but Chris Christie, I'm just going to say it because I'm just going to say the truth. Chris Christie's in bed with George Gilmore, okay? And that's
You're really
problematic.
after this Gilmore guy.
He's a cancer to our politics. But there's many people like him, but I'm just an Ocean County person. But Chris Christie is the worst of the worst. But so you need to do a couple things if you want to be the governor. One, you need to stand against the party boss system. Two, you need to stand for the RNC representation, because that's the party, to be MAGA. We have a state committee. Most people don't even know this. We have a state committee that elects our national RNC committee man. Do you know about this?
Mm-mm.
It's so like, who gives the say at the RNC? How is the RNC the RNC? Who makes the
They're
decisions?
also corrupt.
We have a national committee man and a national committee woman. Two people from each state have voting rights at the RNC. So each state has two people. There's 100 people. They have the voting rights at the RNC. New Jersey has two people. The woman is MAGA. She just got elected. The man is Chris Christie's right-hand guy. He ran Christie's super PAC. He ran the no labels ticket against Trump. And then when he ran for re-election, because they're up in terms, and the people who vote on is the state committee, which is voted on by you. Do you know that? Mm-hmm. You vote for the state committee for the New Jersey political party. People don't even know they're voting for the state committee.
Nope.
But they elect the RNC committee person. And the RNC committee person votes on national issues for the party. Well, you have to support people who reject the current people. So Trump endorsed a candidate named Don Purdy for the RNC National Committee man seat. Bill Palatucci is Chris Christie's guy. Gilmore whip votes for Palatucci. Christie whip votes for Palatucci. Spadia sat idly by. Palatucci is the most never Trump person. The state committee are the 42 votes who vote for the national committee man. Only 42 people vote for the RNC committee man, but that's elected at the county level. You vote for the state committee man from Monmouth County or Ocean County or Bergen County or Morris County. They all have a state committee man and a state committee woman, and they vote for one national committee man, one national committee woman. I know the system.
It's a lot. It's a lot to learn.
And I, you know, the thing is,
and the regular voter, it will just never know it, to be honest.
I am indefatigable.
I think if you could do a good job is you can start putting out visuals on your social media, explaining things like that, and how the voter can get involved.
I will never stop talking about it, and it's the third rail of politics, and no one wants to talk about it because everybody is bought by a boss. So it's the boss system.
I ain't bought by anybody but God.
Well, I'm talking about politics. You're not a politician. We talked about why. You know,
I'd be terrible.
You'd be a bad politician
I'd be
because you're too good. You know, me, I'm built for the battle, so to speak. Because I'm a little calm.
I'm impatient.
Yeah, I'm a little calmer. People say, Crispi, you have good calmness to you. But it's the policies of MAGA, it's the party boss system, and it's the willingness to do the difficult right thing over the easy wrong thing. That's where we're at right now. No candidate right now is doing that. I think another candidate is going to emerge into the fold. They also have to be able to.
Can you tell us who that maybe is?
I think you're going to see this. I think you're going to see a candidate announced soon that has been a mayor, maybe. He's been MAGA all the way. He didn't shut down his city during COVID. He didn't give in to BLM when they were trying to protest in his town. He's in a blue county, but he's been MAGA all the way. He's raised his own money. He's spent his own money. And if he gets into this race, I don't want to steal his thunder, but if he gets into this race and announces, and then can hit matching funds. Now we talk about matching funds as a scam, but matching funds is the legitimizer to get on the debate stage. If he hits matching funds, and he comes into the race, and he speaks about what he did as the leader of his town, blue county, MAGA mayor, inserted himself in, no fear, can't be bought, destroyed a political dynasty in his town where they ran it for 40 years, the Democrats. He came in, didn't give a damn, upset the apple cart. That's a candidate I will stand behind if I'm not running.
If this person potentially runs and you don't, let's just make sure we get him on the fireside, all right?
Oh, he'll come.
Let's
come.
end with that. How do people follow you, support you?
So you guys, where I post the most of, if you're in New Jersey, okay, I'm the most active on X. Okay, X is at Mike Crispi. Easy. Mike, M-I-K-E, C-R-I-S-P-I.
Are you feeling crispy tonight?
I'm feeling crispy. I'm cooking. Okay, we're cooking up a good
cooking,
podcast.
we're cooking.
So, and people, this is. Did I set the guys, producers? Was this the longest podcast? I want to be the longest.
I don't
podcast.
think so.
Oh.
How far are we?
Well, I could have kept going for hours, but I'm feeling crispy. I'm feeling good, and I'm grateful that you brought me on. I'm grateful that we got connected, because there's not many people who are in this fight in bold, unafraid, in America First fashion. There's very few, and when you peel back the onion, it's fewer than you even think. So people who speak out about it, and people who run on it, it's a very small field.
I've lost a lot of friends, a lot of clients, a lot of people who like me still and are afraid to be attached to me because they're fucking soft. But freedom matters to me and my family.
You know what? I think the most, you had a life before you did any of this. That was, you're making money, you're successful. Me too, making money, you're successful. And what's it for? Where's the fulfillment?
No purpose in that.
Yeah, there's no purpose in that. So, I was living a life. I'm doing well, I'm making money. I'm in Miami. I'm partying. I'm around. There's no fulfillment in that. This is the fight. You get fulfillment when you fix the lives of other people because it's placed in your heart to go do it. That's fulfillment, and that's why I do it. That's why I do what I do. So I was just plugging myself. Mike Crispi on X, Mike Crispi NJ on Instagram, MikeCrispi.com. Go look me up, follow me, and you better believe we're just getting started.
Awesome. Thank you. This was good.
As a pleasure. This is one of the best podcasts of all time.
Appreciate that. Thank you.
Thank you, sir.
Later.
Thank you.